A single spark erased 16,000 homes on a perfect California day. This is the true story of a devastating wildfire and the terrifying reason it happened in the middle of winter. To uncover more powerful stories like this and improve your English, make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications. This is not just a news report. This is a story about people, about a community, and about our planet. It is also an opportunity for you to improve your English. As you listen, you will practice your understanding of the language. You will learn new ways to talk about events, and I hope you will feel more confident in your English skills by the end. So let's begin. Imagine for a moment sunny California. It is a place famous for its beautiful beaches, its movie stars, and its glamorous life. But what happens when that picture changes? Imagine the blue skies slowly turning a dark, smoky gray. Imagine smoke filling the air, making it hard to breathe. And then imagine seeing flames rising higher than the buildings. It sounds like a scene from a disaster movie, but for many people, this was real life. Let's start at the very beginning and understand what is happening in California. On January 10, 2025, the people of Los Angeles were living their normal daily lives. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. The weather was warm and very dry, and a gentle breeze was blowing through the trees. It felt like any other ordinary day. But that ordinary day quickly turned into a nightmare. It all started with a small spark. In a dry, grassy area in the hills just outside the city, something went wrong. Experts believe that the fire started when a power line fell. The heavy electrical wires hit the dry ground, created sparks, and in just a few minutes, those sparks grew into flames. You see, California had already been facing a serious problem with droughts, which means there was very little rain for a long time. The land, the grass, and the trees were all incredibly dry. This dry land was like fuel just waiting for a fire. And then there was the wind. A special kind of wind, known as the Santa Ana winds, began to blow very strongly. This wind acted like a giant fan, pushing the flames faster and farther than anyone could imagine. By that evening, the wildfire had traveled with the wind and reached the nearby neighborhoods. The beautiful houses, many made of wood, caught fire so easily. One house would catch fire, and then the next, and then the next. People were in shock. Families had only minutes to grab what they could. They looked for their most important things: papers, family photos, and of course, their pets. They had to run for their lives. The fire moved so fast, it was like a monster chasing them. The next day, the true scale of the disaster became clear. The fire had burned over 300 buildings. These were not just empty buildings. They were homes, schools, and local shops. Entire streets, once full of life and laughter, were now gone. More than 180,000 people had to evacuate. To evacuate means you have to leave your home to find safety. Can you imagine that feeling, leaving everything you own behind, not knowing if your house will still be standing when you come back? Emergency shelters were quickly set up in schools and community centers for families who now had nowhere else to go. And another 20,000 people were under evacuation warnings, waiting, nervously packed and ready to flee if the fire came closer to them. The fire did not just destroy buildings. It burned down forests, damaged roads, and changed the landscape of the city. It felt like the fire was taking away every piece of the life they knew. This terrible wildfire did not just affect ordinary people. Some of the most expensive and beautiful homes in Los Angeles, owned by famous celebrities, were also in the fire's path and were destroyed. Famous wealthy neighborhoods like Beverly Hills and Malibu were covered in a thick blanket of smoke. Many celebrities had to leave their large houses too. It was a difficult reminder that a disaster like this does not care about money or fame. It affects everyone. In the middle of this chaos, there were heroes. Thousands of firefighters worked day and night without rest to try and stop the flames. These brave men and women faced incredible danger. The heat from the fire was so high that some of their equipment started to melt. They used special airplanes that flew over the fire, dropping huge amounts of water and special chemicals to slow it down. But the strong winds made their job almost impossible. It was a constant, difficult battle. One firefighter said that this wildfire was one of the largest and most aggressive he had ever seen. The flames were so powerful that they could jump from one hill to the next, crossing roads and valleys and destroying everything in their path. You might be thinking, but wait, January is winter. Why is there a huge fire in the winter? That is a very good question. Normally in the past, big wildfires in California happened in the hot summer months, but things have changed. California's weather is different now because of something called climate change. The winters are not as cold or as wet as they used to be. They are now hotter and drier. This change makes the land perfect for wildfires even in a month like January, a time when big fires were once very rare. In fact, the year before 2024 was the hottest year ever recorded in history for our planet Earth. The average temperature was higher than ever before. This tells us that our planet is getting warmer, and this warming is causing big problems like these dangerous wildfires in California. The hotter the world gets, the more dangerous these fires become. This warming is happening because of something called greenhouse gases. These are gases in the Earth's atmosphere that act like a blanket trapping heat from the sun. The main greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, or CO2 methane CH4, and nitrous oxide N2O. These gases come from human activities like burning fossil fuels, things like coal oil and gas for our cars and factories. They also come from deforestation, which is when we cut down too many trees. All of this makes the Earth's temperature rise. We call this global warming. Because of global warming, California is getting hotter and drier. Warmer temperatures cause more water to evaporate from the soil and plants, which makes the land very dry. Dry land, dry plants, and dry trees are the perfect fuel for a fire. So when a small spark happens, it can quickly turn into a huge fire that spreads uncontrollably. At the same time, because of climate change, California has been getting less rain. With less rain, the land stays dry for longer. This is why the wildfires have become so much worse. It's like a perfect storm for fires. The dry land, the hot temperatures, and the strong winds all come together to create a disaster. The fires burned 50,000 acres of land. That is a huge, huge area. In total, 16,000 homes and other buildings were destroyed. And the most heartbreaking part is that 28 people lost their lives in these fires. People lost everything: their homes, their belongings, and in some tragic cases, even their loved ones. It was a terrible disaster for so many people and for the animals in California too. So how can we fix this? What can be done? To stop these fires from getting worse and worse, we need to fight climate change. This means we should use less fossil fuels. We need to switch to clean energy like solar power from the sun and wind power. We also need to protect our forests and plant more trees. Trees are wonderful because they help absorb carbon dioxide from the air, and healthy forests can help prevent fires from spreading so quickly. Another important way to fight fires is to manage the land better. Firefighters sometimes use something called controlled burns. This is when they carefully burn away small amounts of dry grass and plants in a controlled way. This helps to clean the forest floor, so if a wildfire does start, it has less fuel to burn and is less likely to become a giant, uncontrollable fire. People also need to prepare their homes and communities better. This means making sure houses are built with fire-resistant materials and everyone has an emergency plan. By taking these steps, we can help reduce the damage of future fires. By understanding the connection between global warming greenhouse gases and wildfires, we can better prepare for what is to come. We all have a role to play in helping the environment and protecting ourselves. There is a man named Peter Kalmus. He is a climate scientist who works for NASA. His job is to study climate change and understand how our planet is warming. Dr. Kalmus often speaks out about the dangers of climate change. He talks about the increase in extreme weather events like the wildfires we see in California. He truly believes that these fires are directly linked to our changing climate. He says that we must invest in renewable energy like solar and wind power and move away from fossil fuels if we want to reduce the terrible impacts of climate change. Dr. Kalmus has explained how important it is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to slow down global warming. He argues that we have to change the way we live from how we get our energy to how we use our planet's resources. He warns that if we do not act, we will see even bigger wildfires, more heat waves, and worse effects on our health and our world. The smoke from these wildfires is also a major problem. It can travel for hundreds of miles and causes serious breathing problems, especially for children, the elderly, and people who already have conditions like asthma. This is not a new problem for California. In 2020, more than 4 million acres of land burned in the state, the largest area in its history. In 2021, over 2.5 million acres burned. In both years, thousands of homes were lost, and the state spent billions of dollars fighting the fires. Yet the damage was still enormous. Today, the crisis in California continues. While some powerful and wealthy people and large companies continue to profit from practices that harm the environment, it is ordinary people who suffer the consequences. But even in these dark times, there is a path forward, the road to recovery. The fire is not over yet, but California will begin to rebuild once it is safe. After a wildfire, it can take many, many years for the affected areas to fully recover. The trees, the plants, and the wildlife have been lost, and the land needs time to heal. The black scars of the fire will remain on the hills for a long time. But in times of disaster, something beautiful often happens. People come together. The world has already started to send help and support to California. Communities are working hard. Neighbors are helping neighbors, and strangers are helping strangers. This crisis has reminded all of us how important it is to support each other in times of need. Though California is in the middle of this terrible crisis, there is hope. These fires are a powerful, urgent reminder that we need to act now to prevent more disasters in the future. We must take climate change seriously. We must work together to protect our planet. This is not just a problem for California. It is a global issue that affects every single one of us. As we look to the future, let's send our thoughts and prayers to those who are suffering right now. And let's remember that while this is a devastating tragedy, it is also a chance for all of us to make a change to protect our planet and to ensure a better, safer future for the next generation. Thank you for listening.